What is up, everyone? I am back from the Los Angeles Regional Championships, and here is the 60 card deck that I chose to play for the tournament. If you guys are coming in, you may have seen on social media or whatever that I did drop this tournament, so not my greatest performance to cap out the regional season, but I wanted to talk about it anyway because as you guys have been following or may not have been following, I have not been doing the best at tournaments, but we're going to talk about it. Under my face is Six Fires, but there's a Manaphy also in this picture that's not here. But the idea behind this list was just I wanted to play Charizard, something that's simple. Isaiah Bradner and Lucas Zing, or Isaiah came up with this really insane control Charizard list, and I was like fully well ready to learn it, and I felt like I had a good grasp of stuff on the format. But I flew out to Los Angeles on Wednesday, and when I got there, my flight got delayed. A lot of things happened. I like pretty much landed like past midnight on Wednesday, and then after that, I got to the house, and so Thursday, I expected as people were coming in, we'd play some games, do some stuff, but no one really wanted to play Pokemon, if that makes sense. Like everyone had already kind of like solidified their deck choice and was already locked into something. Like Reagan was on CPOW. Mustafa was already on this Zard list. Like people had already like figured out what they wanted to play ahead of time, and I was the only one who was like left kind of struggling because I obviously did not prepare well enough. And so on Friday, when push came to shove, it was time to test, and Isaiah showed up to the house as well at 11. I personally had agreed to do a riot tour HQ and meet up with a friend. And so I decided not to flake on that, even though I wanted to stay back and learn the control list, because I just wasn't checked in. I wasn't dialed in for this regionals. I just wanted an excuse not to do well, I think more than anything. And like I wasn't in the mood to play Pokemon, if that makes any sense. Like by like even like right round 2 or 3, I was like, I just hope I lose so I can go home. Um, and so, which is like a terrible attitude to have, right? And then I got back to the house at like 5, and by the time I got back, people were already like pretty set on their decks. People were playing spike ball, dinner. There was a basketball game on, and so by the time the basketball game ended at like 8, Isaiah, Lucas, and Alex Hill had already been discussing the deck for the last couple hours, and they had already like figured out all these lines and all these things. And so I felt like I was late to the party. Like I played like an hour or two of the deck until about 10, and I felt like I was making mistakes and I didn't like it. So I just locked in Mustafa's Zard 60. Lost Cities made a lot of sense in this format because it gives you an edge into CPAL potentially. Um, but I think Area Likey would have just been fine. Like I don't think either version is better than the other. I think Area Likey was just something that I enjoyed more playing. Max Belt was just something you could do to be aggressive against things like POW, take the first knockout, first 2 prizes. You also now get agency into mirror match a little bit that people don't expect that if you play Max Belt and you don't play Max Belt, like versus Prime Catcher. That's why there's 2 Counter Catcher now. And with 3 Lost City, you're like good into Ancient Box, you're good into like Lost Box to some degree, and good into Gardevoir as well. So the idea behind Lost City makes a lot of sense. In practice, the deck is not anything special, which is the kind of the problem with the end of a format where everyone knows what the 60s and stuff is. So you can play a very consistent standard deck, but if you do something like that, there's a good chance that people who have put a lot more time into the format and into the game will be able to break the format with cool decks like the Controls Art deck that came out of the format. So here's my tournament report. It's going to be a short and sweet one, guys. I'm not going to eat up too much of your time. I just actually got home like maybe 25, 30 minutes ago. Round 1, I go up against Patrick Trujillo. He's playing Tina. The first game, I pretty convincingly just win. Like I like am able to get like, he has to go Abyss Seeking, like just opens Tina, goes Abyss Seeking when he goes second. And I get Candy Zard, no Pidgey at that turn. I think I had to like Arven for Pidgey, and then I just hit him for 180, and then he has to Abyss Seeking again. And so I bossed the other Tina with Pidgeot now, hit it again. He goes into Cram. I boss Tina up again, hit it. He goes into Tina V-Star, knocks me out. I go into Zard, kill him. And then he goes, leaves, one-shot me, and then I have Radzard ready to go for game. So game 1 is pretty smooth, but it's like a 35-minute game because Patrick is a newer player. I think was playing pretty slow. Game 2, we get to a board state where he flips over a Sinnoh accidentally towards the end of the game where I'm at 3 prizes and he's at 2. And I owned him to 2, and he tried to put it at the bottom of the deck. We talked about it. I thought it was a complete accident, and we just resolved it, shuffle the deck back up, keep the Iono cards where they are. And then I needed Patrick and his 2 cards not to draw a Gust effect to win the game because I had a pretty slow start, and Patrick actually got a turn 1 Greninja off on me, and I didn't have the opportunity to get Manaphy onto the board. So it was a pretty rough game from me that I ended up losing. And then game 2 ended with about 8 minutes on the clock because I lost pretty fast actually. And then game 3, Patrick gets like a near perfect start, and my start is like really, really bad. Like I have to go like Cleffa, bench, like Bidoof, draw cards basically. And I'm just like, if he gets Greninja, I lose, or like if he gets Sableye, I lose. And then I get like a setup from there. But I get really lucky to get bailed out and walk out with a tie with that one because like the board is at like 5-5 prizes, and then time gets called. Patrick still hasn't attacked for the turn. He's about to, I think, do 280 to my active Zard. He doesn't get to Star Requiem just yet, but like we're in a position where it's like a back and forth where like he's gonna hit me, I'm gonna be able to go Gust. I had the not Defiance. I had the Choice Belt knockout on Tina on the bench. So I was gonna take 2, but then he gets another like Sableye plus 1 extra prize on my bench, takes 3, and then I was gonna go Iono, knockout City potentially. Like there's a lot of like factors here, right? But it was a tie, so I got lucky. Round 2, I go up against Jacob Lopez, who's playing Arc Armarouge. And in the first game, I have actually never played against Arc Armarouge, and I have never like put the time into figuring out what the deck does, which is like totally on me. And so game 1 is like going pretty well for me because Jacob isn't getting like other V's down on the board. It's just like one arc, and he gets like the Armarouges. So I just hit the arc, I hit it again, I get some energies off the board. And then there's like a board state where I just don't realize he plays Delphox, and he's able to hit. And he discards a Devo early game. So I'm like, oh, okay, he plays a Devo. And I assume like maybe Arc plays 1 Devo because you can search it out with V-Star. But he goes Delphox, and then he goes into second Devo. Devo's my board to take those 2 prize cards that he Delphoxed after I put the Delphox in the Lost Zone with City. And then now the game is in a board state where we're at 2-2 prize cards basically. And I have to use regular Zard. Like I think Radzard was prized. Or I had like, no, there was a weird scenario where I just couldn't access Radzard because now my Pidgeot was gone. I think I had played to get to Radzard, but because Pidgeot was gone, I just couldn't do that play anymore. And I have to, unfortunately, I had Luminion in hand, or like a way to get to Luminion with Ultra Ball, but unfortunately my Boss was my last prize, or one of my last 2 prize cards, and I had Boss and Pop Out already in the discard, so I just could not boss up like a Tina or something on his bench to knock it out. So instead I go Iono to 2 for both of us, knock out the active, and he has an Armarouge with an energy, a Bidoof, no Bidoof, I killed the Bibarel, another Charcadet, I believe, and that's his whole board. He has one fire, I have a City in play, like he needs a lot to win this game. I think that I've already won, I'm getting pretty cocky here, on me. Jacob goes Ultra Ball with his 2, discards 2 random cards, gets a Mew EX, slams the Mew EX, draws 3. I think he gets attachment for turn, the DTE, to the Mew. I believe, was it DTE that did enough? Because it would be copy my attack. I've taken 5 prize cards. 5 prize cards is... I don't think it was DTE. I think it was just energy. He goes energy Mew, slams research, and I was like, oh no. And his deck was like 10 cards, so I just was like, he's either got like third stadium or he doesn't. He gets third stadium, switch, so he goes Basin, switch, move all the energy up, use Mew X to copy my guy's attack and knock it out. I think he had 1 arc on bench, but the arc wasn't doing anything. Yeah, because like I would have won if I was able to kill the arc. And I was like, cool. Didn't really play around that. I didn't play around 2 Devo. I didn't play around that, Game 2, I do a much better job playing around everything. I still like get kind of got by the Devo at one point because I did prize mana fee. But I'm able to like remove threats off my board earlier. Like I'm able to like Turo stuff off the board. I'm able to like set up into an interesting board state where just I'm able to do things better basically. And game 2 ends up being a win from pretty early on, but Jacob just didn't concede the game. So game 3, we're like in the setup stage, and he goes like arc attach pass as time is being called, and I just show him like Arven for Poffin, so it's like a guaranteed time. So now I've started the tournament 0-2, not an ideal place to be, and I'm not feeling Pokemon. I'm just not feeling my deck. I'm not feeling the tournament. I am like joking around that if I lose 1 more, I can go home, or lose 2, I can go home, but I still don't want to lose. Obviously, like as a competitor, I just don't want to. Round 3, I go up against Owen. Owen is playing C-Pow. The first game, I just kind of run him over. Like, his setup is pretty bad. I just steamroll him. The second game, he goes into a hands pretty aggressively. And I have the turn 2, like, he doesn't get the turn 2 hands, but I would have had the turn 2 Candy Zard, Max Belt KO had I had an Arvin or a Sealstone or anything, because I was rotoming for cards, but my hand was like now like 9, 10 cards, nothing usable. Whatever. He goes hands KO. I now do it again, throw up a guy, and I'm like, okay, this is still fine. I counter catcher up backs. I have the city in my hand. Or I was gonna, like, if I drew off the rotom or something, I was gonna go ahead and just try to slam the counter catcher, city, kill his backs. He only had lone backs. And if I do that, and he had double the barrel up already, and 2 pals in play and backs. So like this meant that his board was locked to the point where he had to always bench another one lone fridge backs at a time, which just means I win the game because I just don't lose to hands anymore. But I missed the KO that turn, so he takes another 2 prize cards. But then off my rotom, he puts a stop down for me, which like actually saves me the game because I Pokestop into double candy, and I'm like, oh my god, I've got like an 18 or 19 card hand. I'm not exaggerating. No Arvin, nothing until this point basically. So I'm able to go Candy Pidgeot, Candy Zard, gust up the backs again, counter catch up the backs again. Iono us to low cards, city, knock it out. He comes up with hands, hits into my Zard. I make a new Zard. I boss the Frigibacks he just put down, lost city for game. He, again, doesn't have energy attachments onto this PAL, which would have also been really bad for me. But he comes up with hands again, hits me for 120 on my new active Zard. And then I put down Radzard on the bench to make sure I don't get bundled to lose the game. And then I gust up, I go Palpad, Pidgeot, get his last Frigibacks in the loss zone, and he concedes the game. But I get like super lucky that game too, that just like all those things happened, and I just like my deck wasn't decking for a little bit. Round 4 going against Mikey, Bashara. He's playing Lost Box. He is a newer player as well. The first game he just overcommits 2 gates to a hands without having to attack with the hands that turn, so I'm able to just gust up the hands and KO because he didn't know I played Max Belt, and he gave me the Town Store too, which was really nice. The second game and so like by the time he like gets another attacker up like a moon, his now 4 gates have been exhausted and the game is just over. The second game is something of the similar where his like start is super slow, and I've taken 3 prizes before he even like gets to like 6 or 7 in the loss zone. But then when he gets to 7, he like goes into moon, poses a threat, but then I go knockout moon with Mander. Iono is like super low, like basically on the same turn, and then he just gets nothing from there. I think he like Pokestopped on turn 1 off his own Pokestop, and he hit like Colress, Super Odd, I think, were the 3 cards. So it was not ideal for Mikey. So I end up taking that one, go to 202. Not feeling great still. I think I'm just in a position that's whatever. Round 5, going against Chris Winn. Game 1, I end up just losing the mirror because I prized some crucial pieces. My start's a little bit slow. He ends up just kind of setting up perfectly. He gets a Soul Read area on me, where like he gets a counter catcher in my hand, and I had like counter catcher Max Belt for game next turn, and I was like, cool. It was a 3 card hand. I just took a prize. So like I just don't know why he got that read, but he got me there. And then game 2, I just kind of run him over. And then the third game, I go Poffin on turn 1, and I prize double Pidgeybidoof, which is really, really unfortunate. But I'm able to bring the game to like a standstill point where I can like still play. And I like get the Bidoof on my first prize, I bench it. It kind of baits him into bossing it and KOing it. It's not like a real bait, but like it saves my Zard, the one Zard that I could make from getting a hit. And then I'm able to make a second Zard in like 2 turns from there. So I'm able to trade efficiently enough. Eventually gust his Pidgeot, kill it in Iono in the same turn. And from there, I have like a really good shot at winning if he doesn't draw, I think it was Last Candy, Zard, and Last Rod off of his barrel for 5. And he does get that exactly combination. And I'm like, cool, can't really do much about that. Because if not, I just had the damage to win the game if he doesn't make another Zard. So, super unfortunate game 3. No Pidgey, no barrel was really unfortunate because I just had like the most insane setup to go from there. Round 6, I go up against Kendrick, who's playing Lost Box as well. The first game is like super close back and forth. I have like a pretty bad start, and then he ends up dropping a Shaman V at the end of the game that I can't really respond to. No way of me knowing. I mean, he did like flash it when he was shuffling, but that's like, he like dropped it, I mean, when he was shuffling, but that's like not, like it was like too late in the game where like I could do anything about it. Like I was like, oh, sick, there's going to be a Shaman. I just have to hope like, I'm going to Iona him to like 2 or 3 and hope this sticks. And it didn't, ever. So I lose game 1, and then game 2, Kendrick, I open Radzard, and then Kendrick just gets basically like a super early Sableye and just starts like popping my board, and I'm just like, yeah, Like I can't move this guy. So 2-2-2 was my loss. Overall thoughts on the deck. The deck was fine. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything bad. Zard is Zard. Like it should win games, but I just wasn't winning games because my deck just didn't deck. I don't think I played necessarily bad in any of these games. I think I played actually pretty well across the day. But all that being said, I still just like wasn't having fun playing Pokemon, if that is what I'm trying to say. All that being said is that I just wasn't dialed in this weekend, and that's on me. I'm going to be absolutely dialing in for NAIC because the last tournament that I can, give it my all before Worlds, and I don't want there to be any regrets. So we'll see what happens. Thank you all for supporting me as always, and I appreciate you guys' watching this. So thank you, and peace out.